gentlemen, it is Richard Holiday, and you are watching Chop City Wrestling.
Hey, this is the Master of the Worm, Scotty 200. We're here in Herman, Maine with Ryan at Chop City Wrestling. Keep watching because this guy is too cool.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's two-time Hall of Famer Devon W. And I'm with my main man Ryan here, and we're raising money for Connors for Cure. So you have to chop him in order to get that money in donation. But I'm not going to chop him, I'm going to take it. He's a man of his word. And right now, I just want you to know that you need to make sure that you donate to Connors Cure. It's a great cause, and Devon said so. Because if not, I promise you, I'll put your ass through a table. Now, can you testify to that? Woo! Yeah! Woo!
What is up, Chop City Wrestling? Sorry for the little bit of a late start today. But what are we going to be doing today? We are going to be reviewing WrestleMania 1. So a little bit about what I'm going to be trying to do here going up through WrestleMania 40 is I'm going to be trying to rewatch all the past WrestleManias 1 through 39, and then basically giving my review on them, so on and so forth. I'm going to try to get one of these out each day if possible, but as these WrestleManias get longer in length, when they start doing the 2 days, when they start doing the 6 or 7 hour WrestleManias, I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to get one out a day, but I'm definitely going to try my best to get one out a day and get as close to that WrestleMania 40 mark as possible, or WrestleMania 39 mark as possible before WrestleMania 40 happens. So today we start off with the very first one, WrestleMania 1, and this was, something never done before, something new, something probably a lot of people were expecting not really to work because, it was just so crazy, so outlandish. Before this, you had the territories and, smaller shows, all of that stuff. And now we're talking about a huge show. I believe they said over 20,000 people. You have some of the best on this card. It's supposed to be like a spectacle, basically. The Super Bowl of wrestling. They mentioned it a couple times, actually, that this was basically like the Super Bowl of wrestling. So this was a visionary thing done by Vince McMahon, whether you love the guy, whether you hate the guy. I'm not going to talk about the allegations that have came out recently against him. It has nothing to do with what he did for professional wrestling. He helped build something that has turned into huge things. They're doing stadiums now instead of arenas, 2 days instead of 1 day, 8 hours instead of 4 hours, or in this case, this one was about 2.5. So what he's done for the wrestling business, that's what I want to talk about, because he's completely changed it. But to WrestleMania 1, we started off with it was live from Madison Square Garden. We had Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary. Howard Finkel was doing the ring announcing. And we started off with the national anthem, which was sang by Mean Gene Okerlund, which, I don't honestly understand why they had him do it. You had people, not to spoil some of the matches, but you had people like Cyndi Lauper and stuff like that in the crowd backstage. Why not have an actual singer do it? Because, I love the national anthem, obviously, but he was just so bad singing that he had the crowd helping him sing. It was not a good start to WrestleMania. You could tell that he shouldn't be out there really, and that's how we started it off. After that, the first match was Tito Santana versus the Executioner. They started out with some interviews out in the back with Mean Gene Okerlund. You could tell both men weren't the greatest on the mic, that they were still maybe a little bit green. They kind of stumbled through their promos. They were really quick. The Executioner mentioned that he was going to work on Tito Santana's leg probably 18 times. He just kept going, I'm going to work the leg, work the leg, work the leg. Just was not good promos at all. But, like I said, they were both probably pretty green at this time. And what do you expect for something that, was probably new to them? Both wrestlers started out by running the ropes, followed by a back body drop, and Santana dropped kick the Executioner. Santana actually started working on his legs to potentially locking that figure four leg lock that he does as his finisher. So, Santana kind of changed it up a little bit and was doing what the Executioner said that he was going to do. Santana hit a flying forearm, locked in the figure four leg lock after working the legs for a little bit for the win. It was a very, very slow-paced match to start off with. Not at all like what you see starting off with WrestleMania matches now or any wrestling event now. They always say they want the first match and the last match to be the best matches, because those are the matches that are going to kind of, first match paces the night, gets us going, gets the crowd going up on their feet. So you want something good, something entertaining there. And then obviously you want them to stay to the main event. So you put in a huge match in the main event as well. So much, much different than what we see nowadays. This was a very, very slow-paced match, a very quick match. It probably went maybe 3 or 4 minutes, if that. And I mean, Santana did show a couple high-flying moves for that time. But all in all, it just wasn't a very good match at all. I'd give it 2.5 stars out of 10. So the second match, we got SD Jones versus King Kong Bundy. And once again, we cut to interview promos with Mean Gene Okerlund. This was kind of the theme throughout the night. Before the match, they would cut to the back. They'd do a little interview to kind of hype up the match a little bit. This was before we had the vignettes, the video packages, stuff of that nature. That's kind of how they hyped up the matches back then, was the backstage promos. So we saw one of those basically before every single match tonight. These two, you could tell that they were a lot more comfortable on the microphone. A very good promo, very kind of high energy, in your face, something that would get you excited for the match. So I was very impressed by both of their promos. So King Kong Bundy was with Jimmy Hart. The match starts with Jones trying to use his speed basically to take advantage of King Kong Bundy's size. And don't get me wrong, Jones was a big guy as well. But if you compare the two, it was night and day that King Kong Bundy was just so much bigger than Jones. So he tries to use his his speed to kind of knock off King Kong Bundy's size, and it just does not work at all. King Kong Bundy grabs him in a bear hug, slams him into the corner, does a splash, and we have the 3 in a total of 9 seconds. This match was a little bit disappointing for me because with the promos, with the size comparison was close. I definitely thought this match was going to be a lot better than this, but something I kind of noticed as I was watching these matches back was back then the matches just didn't go long. We had a lot of quick matches throughout the night, and that's just kind of how wrestling was back then. You didn't have those 20, 30, 40-minute matches like you do now, that are normal. Back then, 10-minute matches were normal, if that. And so this was one of those cases where I hoped that it was going to be something amazing, and it turned out to not really be anything amazing, unfortunately. So King Kong Bundy gets the win, the 3 count in 9 seconds flat. They're talking about how it's a new record, something that'll probably not be broken for a very long time. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't know if it has been broken yet. I do know that Sheamus and Daniel Bryan had a very quick match at a WrestleMania. I don't know if this record's ever been broken though. So all in all, the match definitely had potential, but I have to give it 2 stars out of 10 just because just like Jones, the match was just squashed way, way too quickly. And what could have been turned out to nothing. Match 3, we have Ricky the Steamboat versus Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne later ends up being Doink the Clown throughout the match. They're calling him Maniac Matt Bourne, so it kind of shows you a glimpse into what happens later on in his career when he goes to that dark clown side. And then unfortunately, he runs into some issues that are talked about in Dark Side of the Ring, and a couple other things as well. But this was one of those matches, once again, started off with the promo out back. It started off as a very, very technical match. Steamboat walking in the side headlock to keep control. He kind of keeps that going throughout the match, trying to keep control of Matt Bourne. Basically, keeping that side headlock locked in to control the match. For sure was a good match, but still it was just way too quick. Once again, like I said, the theme that I kind of noticed as I was watching these matches, they don't go very long back then. So even when you have 2 great in-ring workers such as Ricky Steamboat and Matt Bourne, that they're really only going like 5 minutes. And that's something that maybe will skew my ratings a little bit as this series goes on, because it's hard for me to rate a match highly if it's only going 5 minutes, even if it's a good 5 minutes. You had Ricky Steamboat win with the cross body off the top rope for the 3 count. Like I said, all in all, a good match, but the fact that it was only about 5 minutes long just kind of ruined it for me. So I'd give this one so far my highest rated match of the night, 4 stars out of 10. Definitely had potential to be an absolutely great match. Just they didn't give them the time that they needed in order to make that happen. Match 4, we got David Sammartino, son of Bruno Sammartino, versus Brutus Beefcake. David does come out with his dad, Bruno, to the eruption of the crowd. The crowd absolutely loves Bruno. One of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, holds the longest reign of all time, that will absolutely never be broken. So the crowd is really excited to see Bruno come out. And then Johnny Valiant comes out with Brutus the Barber. Or not at that point. He was just Brutus Beefcake. He later became Brutus the Barber Beefcake. This was another one, Brutus. A very technical match. A lot of mat wrestling, which I was surprised with because, maybe I just haven't watched a whole lot of Brutus. I get it with San Martino, but I never really thought of Brutus as a technical ring guy. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about going through these WrestleManias is to see matches and see people that obviously I know being a wrestling fan, but that I just haven't seen a lot of their matches. So I'm excited to see, their matches and get an idea of what they actually were in the ring. Action-wise compared to what I thought. So very technical match to start off. A lot of leg locks, holds, stuff of that nature to keep them grounded. Brutus does finally start using some heavy moves like a back body drop, some forearms to the back. Eventually, all four members, Johnny Valiant, Brutus, Bruno, and his son all get into the ring after some issues on the outside where David gets back body dropped onto the concrete. Bruno ends up getting involved, and both teams do get disqualified at this point in time. So it's double DQ. The crowd, booing Brutus like crazy, cheering for Bruno like crazy. You can tell that his son just never really got over like he did. That the crowd was more into it when Bruno was in the ring than when his son was in the ring, unfortunately. But all in all, it was an okay match. Nothing amazing. I'd give it 3.25 stars out of 10. It could have been good. Once again, just not a lot of time. Very quick match. And just the crowd was into Bruno. The crowd wasn't into the match, unfortunately. Match 5, now we start to get into the little bit bigger of the matches. I kind of noticed that as I was watching it that, the first 4 matches were probably what they would consider the pre-show now. And then the last 4 matches were what they would consider the main show now. Because the last 4 matches, you just have a lot bigger talent. Not to say that King Kong Bundy, Tito Santana, Brutus, not that they were not big talent, because they did end up turning into big talent. But just the quality of the matches, the names in the matches definitely did start to take a turn from 5 on down when watching this. So match number 5 is an Intercontinental title match. We have the Junkyard Dog, the JYD, going versus Greg the Hammer Valentine, and he comes out with Jimmy Hart. Greg the Hammer Valentine is the champion in this match. But the crowd is very much behind the Junkyard Dog. He was always a crowd favorite. Another one that unfortunately just ran into some issues that you can also see on Dark Side of the Ring. And just, was gone too soon, unfortunately. But The Junkyard Dog starts out by taking control of this match almost right off the bat, using his strength to take control of the match. Valentine does end up finally getting in control a little bit, starts to work the legs to be able to lock in his figure four leg lock, which is the finisher. And that was something that I really did like seeing throughout some of these matches, was people working on one body part. You don't see that nowadays. Even the wrestlers that have submission holds as finishers, back then you would see them work the leg, work the leg, work the leg, work the leg, because they wanted to be able to weaken that leg to lock in their submission hold to make it look more believable. And you don't see that nowadays. So that was something that I was very happy to see in some of these matches, especially the ones involving people that did have submission holds as their finishers. They were working those body parts to try to kind of weaken it throughout the match. So that's what we see here with Greg the Hammer Valentine. He's weakening the leg, trying to, make it be that way he can lock on that figure four later and make it effective. Sorry about that. The mouth is a little dry from talking. And then you can also see right after Junkyard Dog, he's selling the fact that his leg was just worked on. He's walking with a limp. He's showing that my leg isn't 100% now due to the fact that it was just worked on. So that was just the in-ring psychology back in the day, the way that you sold certain things. You just don't see it nowadays. Um, and I was really, really happy to see that. Uh, Junkyard Dog does, start to gain control back again, hitting him with multiple parented headbutts while on all fours, like the dog that he is. Hammer goes to the corner, tries to hit Junkyard Dog, hits Jimmy Hart by accident. Then we end up seeing that Greg the Hammer Valentine is able to somehow gain a pinfall. He does an illegal pinfall, puts his two legs up on the second rope for an illegal pinfall to gain a little bit of leverage, and does get the 3 count on Junkyard Dog to retain. After this, we do have Tito Santana come out for some reason. And I'm sure if I was watching wrestling back then, it probably did correlate with the story somehow. But he comes out basically to, tell the ref, hey, he had his feet on the ropes. This is an illegal pin. Should not have happened type thing. And the ref actually does change his decision. At this point in time, Greg the Hammer Valentine is on the outside of the ring. The ref does start to do a 10 count, counts out Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Junkyard Dog does win the match. However, due to it being a count out, the title does not change hands. The title does stay with Greg the Hammer Valentine. So honestly, not quite sure what that was all about, what the point of it was. The title obviously can't change on a count out, so just let the heel keep his heat and, cheat to win, like heels do. I don't see what the point was of changing the outcome of the match to a count out and letting Junkyard Dog win that. If you're going to change it, just restart the match. Force the heel to come back into the ring and continue to fight. And maybe you have Junkyard Dog win it at that point. But it doesn't make sense to restart the match just to count out Greg the Hammer Valentine when that does absolutely nothing to the result. Really, it still allows him to retain his title, which is all he cares about. So all in all, was an okay match. The finish kind of wonky, didn't really do much for me on the finish, so I'll give that match 4 stars out of 10. Match number 6, we have the Tag Team Championships. We have Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda versus Captain Lou versus Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik with Classy Freddie Blassie. Like I said, as we get on later in the matches, you definitely do have your bigger wrestlers in these matches. And it kind of did seem like the pre-show versus the actual show. So we start off with some good back and forth action in this match. Both teams controlling the match in some point in time. Very good back and forth to start it off. Sheik and Volkov do end up winning the match, though, when Sheik hits Windham with Freddie Blassie's cane for the 3 count. And they do become the new tag team champions. It was a good match, a very good match, honestly. One that I wished went longer. Same story that we're getting throughout the night. Just I get it. This was the first time you're doing a WrestleMania. You don't know exactly how it's going to work, how the fans are going to take to it. So you're just kind of doing it as a big show, basically. But if some of these matches had even 5 more minutes just to marinate, they just could have been very good matches. So that was a little bit frustrating watching this back. Just, some of the matches that could have been very, very good matches just were not there because they did not give them the time to do what they had to do. That was the case with this match. Had they had more time, I probably would have gave it 6 stars out of 10 because it just good pacing, good back and forth, good tag team action, good finish with the heels cheating to win the titles by using the cane. You got Sheik getting the crowd pissed off with his anti-USA stuff. So all in all, it was a very good match. Just not enough time. So I would have probably gave it 6 stars or pretty close to that. But because of the length of the match, unfortunately, I did have to drop it down to 4.75 stars out of 10. But so far, probably match of the night. Match 7, we got Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd with Bobby the Brain Heenan. The premise of this match basically was Big John Studd said, "You can't body slam me." Andre the Giant said, "Of course I can. I'm the fucking giant. What do you mean I can't body slam you?" And so the whole premise of this match basically was body slam to win. If Andre the Giant was able to body slam Big John Studd, he then in turn wins $15,000, which for back then was big money. If he's not, then he retires. So, Andre the Giant was basically putting his career on the line by saying, "Listen, I'm a giant. I can do whatever the hell I want. So if I want to slam you, there's no stopping me, basically." It was interesting, though, that, even though Andre the Giant was so big, at this point in time, he wasn't as big as you would expect him to be. They only said he was 476 pounds. I say only. But, when we think of Andre the Giant, we think of, 7 feet tall, 600-pound type thing, being massive. And standing next to Big John Studd, there wasn't a whole lot of size difference between the two men. So I was very surprised to see that, I guess. Andre does start out the match by using his size, though, to control the match, even though, both men are pretty close to the same size, at least height-wise. There's, a huge discrepancy in the strength department. You can clearly see that with Andre the Giant just basically manhandling Big John Studd. The crowd starts chanting slam, slam, slam. They want to see the body slam. They want to see the slam that everyone said could not happen. Andre does end up slamming Studd to get the win and the money. He's handed the bag of money, and he immediately starts throwing it out into the crowd to piss off Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan then runs, grabs the bag, and runs to the back. You never really expect a great match with a Andre the Giant match. He wasn't known for his amazing matches. He was known for being larger than life, the eighth world wonder, and using his size basically to have a good match per se. And that's kind of what we had here. Like I said, you don't expect anything amazing. And because of that, 3 stars out of 10. It was what it was. You got to see Andre use his strength, use his size, get the body slam, kind of be the character that he always was by throwing the money out into the crowd. But it just, in the end of the day, was not a great match. Match 8, which actually I was very surprised with this match. We have the women's championship. We have Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper versus Lillian Kai with the Fabulous Moolah. Like I said, the match was a lot better than I expected. I am one that I've just never really been a huge fan of women's wrestling. And don't get me wrong, it is certainly changed leaps and bounds. It certainly became a lot better now than it was when, say the Attitude Era or stuff of that nature. But I've just never been a huge fan of it. So I was very surprised with this match and how good it was. It does end up with a little bit wonky of a finish, not the greatest finish for how good of the match was, which it was very much back and forth throughout the match. Wendy holding the edge sometimes Kai holding the edge. So it was very back and forth throughout the match. The finish just didn't do a whole lot for me. Kai goes up to the top rope, goes for a cross body. Once she lands on Wendy Richter uses basically the momentum of the crossbody to roll on top of Kai for the 3 count and the new women's champion. That was the worst part of the match was the finish. They actually did give them, I'd say, probably 7 to 10 minutes for this match. Which was good. Up to that point, none of the matches really had much time. So, I was happy that they gave this match some time to do its thing. And yeah, it definitely surprised me. The finish was the only thing that held this match back. If the finish was different, I probably would have gave this match at least 6 stars as well. But just, it seemed like sort of a weak finish with how good the match was up to that point. But all in all, I will give this match my highest star rating of the night so far at 5.25 stars out of 10. Definitely one to watch if you are a women's wrestling fan, especially for that era, because like I said, I was very, very surprised with how good the match was for back then. And now we do have the main event of the night. Uh, we have Muhammad Ali as the guest referee, or as one of the referees. There was still 2 referees in this match. It's not like how they do it now, where if you have a special guest referee, that's the only referee. So it's Hulk Hogan and Mr. T with Jimmy Snuka versus Roddy Piper, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff with Cowboy Bob Orton. The crowd, that was another thing that I was very, very surprised with, was how into it the crowd was. Now, I don't know if WWE is making the sound louder now that they have control of these videos and stuff of that nature, but the crowd seemed electric. The crowd was very, very into this match. Goes crazy when Hogan and Mr. T come out. Mr. T started out the match by locking up with Piper, which I was very, very surprised about. That was one of those things that kind of surprised me, how good Mr. T was actually in the ring. For a guy that was not a wrestler, he definitely was able to lock up with him pretty well. He was able to do the moves with him pretty well. And, gave me some thought of, we always question who's the best celebrity wrestler of all time. Some say Bad Bunny, some say Logan Paul. I never really thought of Mr. T just because, I've seen some of the matches, but I never actually sat down and really, really watched one of the matches. He was pretty impressive in the ring for a guy that did not do this. Hulk and Piper end up getting in the ring. Hulk's kind of controlling the match with his size. We get a little bit of back and forth. At some point in time, Mr. T does get tagged back into the match, and Piper and Paul try to kind of keep him in the ring because, yes, although Mr. T did look good in the ring, at the end of the day, he's not a wrestler. So, if you're going to have Mr. T in the ring or you're going to have Hulk Hogan in the ring, obviously you want Mr. T in the ring. You don't want the heavyweight champion of the world in the ring. So they're controlling the match, trying to keep Mr. T in the ring as much as possible. Hogan does eventually get tagged in and right away takes control of the match. We get to a spot where Cowboy Bob Orton gets up to the top rope. He has his patented cast on his arm, and he does try to hit Hogan with the cast to help out his team. Hogan moves, and Paul Orndorff does get hit with the cast. And at that point in time, we see Hogan climb over Paul for the 3 count and the win. The crowd goes crazy. They're happy. And, that's the main event. That's the end of the show. And I'd give that match probably a 4.75 out of 10. Nothing amazing, but definitely some, good in-ring action with Mr. T, Piper. Hogan's never really won for his in-ring work, let's be honest. So, he's never going to get a huge number, but it definitely was a bad match for what it was. All in all, I get what they were trying to go with being the first WrestleMania. They were trying to make a spectacle of it. They were trying to make this a huge thing. So I do understand where they were coming from. Having people like Cyndi Lauper, having Muhammad Ali, having Mr. T, so on and so forth. It definitely, the matches towards the end were obviously a lot better than the matches at the beginning. And that's something that we'll see change throughout the years. The pacing is a lot different now. It used to be worst matches at the beginning, best matches at the end. Now you'll see kind of pacing throughout the night where, you'll have a great match to start off at 1, then you'll slow it down a little, then you'll bring them back up, and then you'll slow it down a little. And you'll kind of see that pace throughout the night. All in all, though, definitely, showed glimpses of what WrestleMania would become now. And what they hoped it to be. Definitely one to watch if you're, a wrestling fan, a wrestling history fan, or, wanting to do something like this. Obviously, this was the one that started it all. So it's definitely one to watch, and I'm glad I did, because thinking of it, I'm sure I've watched it at some point in time, but I honestly can't remember it. So, it had some of the matches gone a little bit longer, I probably would have gave it a higher rating. Had this not have been the first one, I probably would have gave it a little bit lower of a rating. All in all, for it being the first one, I'll give it a 4.5 stars. Simply just because this was something that was unheard of at its time. Never had before happened. So just for the sheer, kind of spectacle of this being the first WrestleMania, I would give it 4.5 stars. If it was not the first, I'd probably bump it down to about 3.75 stars. Not to say that it was a bad show, just way too short of matches to start off. The matches that were really good, like the women's match, which was my match of the night. If you're going to watch just one match from this show, I would say watch that one. The matches that were really good either had a wonky finish or just not enough time. So, all in all, yeah, I would say 4.5 for being the first WrestleMania ever. Had it not been the first WrestleMania ever, 3.75 stars out of 10. Definitely one to go back and watch, though, if you're a fan of wrestling, for sure. Just for what it was. But that is the review of WrestleMania 1. I'm going to do my best to watch number 2 tonight when I get out of work, but we'll see how that turns out, and hopefully get the review out tomorrow if at all possible. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this series if you're interested in me continuing to do this. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this WrestleMania, or if you've watched it, what you thought the match of the night was, what you thought of the pay-per-view as a whole, what you would rate it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this and watching the stream. And I hope you enjoy this series that I'm going to be trying to do. And with that, let's send it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Richard Holiday, and you are watching Shop City Wrestling.
Hey, this is the Master of the Worm, Scotty Buddy. We're here in Herman, Maine, with Ryan at Chop City Wrestling. Keep watching, because this guy is too cool.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's two-time Hall of Famer Devon W. And I'm with my main man Ryan here, and we're raising money for Honest Pure. So you have to chop them in order to get that money in donation. And I'm not going to chop him, I'm going to take it. He's a man of his word. And right now, I just want you to know that you need to make sure that you donate to Honest Pure. It's a great cause, and Devon said so. Because if not, I promise you, I'll put your ass through a table. Now, can you testify to that? Woo!